Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success Talk Show. My name is Rochelle Slay or Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. And Slay to Success is a consultant firm where I am supporting, equipping those that are in high visibility leadership roles in high stakes environments, ensuring that their accomplishments are being seen as influence. And as I continue on this journey, we start with the word slay. Slay means to kill it, to dominate it, and to nail it, to be on point, to impress greatly, and to dream big and work hard until you own it. It is also a method or a framework that you can use. It's like real decision making at the times that you need it best, when the things that you need to do are getting a little bit heavy. And that is strategic identity, leadership presence, aesthetics authority, and your narrative power. So we are going to be talking through some of those topics tonight. But as you come on in, please let me know where you're streaming in from. Give us your name because we want this to be a full conversation. And as you share, we will take in your comments. We want to make sure that we include you in this conversation because tonight, y'all, this is considered part two. Okay, part two, we had a SLAYMAZING conversation on part one. And if you have not seen part one or episode one of my special guest, go to the Slay to Success YouTube channel, subscribe first, and then punch in or type in Michael Black, okay? Because that is the person that I have with us tonight. So before we get started, before I share a little bit about him, I see that Donnell is in the building. Donnell, all right, you slay day every day. That's what we are doing, okay? Every single day. And I want to say thank you on behalf of myself, Yolanda, and Charmaine that was with you at Veterans Growing America last night for hosting such a powerful women empowerment event, as well as hosting. Tonda was hosting, and it was just absolutely incredible. So thank you for everything that you continue to do for veterans, especially those that are growing businesses. So if you have a business and you are a veteran and you live in the DMV, that is DC, Maryland, or Virginia, please follow Donnell. You will see all the great and amazing things that he is doing with that organization. And good evening, Queen. Happy Sunslay to you as well. Thank you so much, Chevy, for showing up with us live tonight. This is going to be a great conversation. So for those that are looking for some inspiration, some empowerment, education, information, please grab your pen and your paper, okay? Because I'm already going to get into the mode. I got to find my pen and my paper here, y'all, because I don't want to miss any of these gems that he is going to drop for us tonight. Oh, I would, you know what, Donnell, it was just absolutely fire last night. And then the marketing and what you're doing right now, I'm like, whoa, we are looking good. We are looking good. All right. So I want to remind everybody who I have tonight. If you have not met him or you weren't able to see part one, then I want to introduce you all to my great friend and brother in arms, Michael Black. All right. Now he goes by Mike, and he is the Vice President of Defense at AFCEA International. And he's bringing over 40 years of leadership in cyber, communications, and IT. He leads global defense operations and large-scale conferences that connect government, industry, and academia across cyber, intelligence, and national security sectors. As a former United States Air Force colonel, he culminated his military career as commander of the White House Communications Agency, leading a 1,200-person team delivering no-fail communications for the president and senior national leadership. Before AFCEA, he served in multiple chief executive roles, chief operation roles across the private sector, driving strategy, operations, and business growth. Now, Mr. Black holds advanced degrees from the United States Air Force Academy, the National Defense University, Army Command, and General Staff College, and Webster University. He don't play about these degrees, and we're going to be talking about a little about what his family is doing with these degrees, okay? He is a published leadership author, a White House Communications Agency Hall of Fame inductee, and a recipient of 3 Telly Awards for Excellence in Media. Now, y'all, you see, I got the blazer on, right? I got a blazer on tonight because, I had to come correct, all right? We need to give a warm applause, all right, or a warm welcome to our guest tonight, which is Michael Black. Hey!
Hello, Rochelle, Slay Queen. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to dominate. I'm ready to nail it. I'm ready to impress. I'm ready to dream, be on point, and work hard until I own it.
Okay. I think you already there. Like, I feel like you are the standard. I don't know, like when we talked last time on the show, I was like, my mind just kept blowing up. I was like, what? Who? What? Oh my goodness! Like, this man is on fire, and I just want to say thank you because last night we were at the event.
Yes, ma'am.
So we were at, y'all, the Veterans Grow in America. I'm gonna say it again, okay? Veterans Grow in America, and they hosted a women's empowerment event. And Mr. Black, okay, Michael Black, he came up in there as he normally does, and he helped. He supported the women by serving, setting up tables, making sure everything was flowing easily. And I was like, he always shows up and he got all these degrees. So I just, I just enjoy our conversation last time. So I was like, do you mind if we come on for part 2? Because y'all didn't have a guest. And so I just went to him and he said, yeah, I'm free. And I was like, okay, like, let's go. All right. That's what I like. Our community just, shows up for each other. So it's Sun Slay, okay, in the world of Slay Nation. And so I'm grateful that you are here with us this evening. So for the people who don't know who you are, just share a little bit and then we'll get started with our conversation.
Well, absolutely. Well, first, let me just say that I put on my blazer because I wanted to be with you. I knew I was in the presence of a queen, and I had to do that. I also we talked a little bit beforehand because we were behind the camera, but I put on my pink shirt as well to represent with the Slay Queen. So I'm honored to be here. I thank you for asking me to be a part of this. It's you do some amazing things out here with your coaching and developing leaders, and I just honored to be a part of that. You said who I am. I mean, I spent 30 years in the Air Force, if you count my 4 years at the Air Force Academy, and I do count that. Entered the Academy on 22 June 1981 and graduated on 29 May 1985. So those 4 years count for me. They didn't count for pay purposes in the Air Force, but they did count. I got a ribbon. I got a ribbon. I got a ribbon for 4 years of service, but development and the first of a few degrees. And then I spent 26 years. So 4 plus 26 gives me 30 years. As you said, culminating my career at the White House Communications Agency. Honored to be there to serve President Bush's administration, Bush 43, and President Obama 44. So an amazing opportunity. Came in as the deputy commander in 2007 after graduating from War College and stayed there until the end of 11. An amazing opportunity, to operate in a no-fail environment. Amazing teammates. Amazing soldier, sailor, airmen, Marines, Coast Guard, civilians, and contractors that were a part of that unit that really just did everything they could do to make sure that the president could be the head of state, chief executive, and commander in chief anytime, anywhere. So I watched the news in a whole different fashion based upon that assignment, and actually was just at the White House Communications Agency with the team this past Friday. They had their annual awards ceremony, and previous commanders get invited back. And Kevin Childs, Colonel Childs, is the current commander, and invited me to come back. And I was able to spend some time with some of the folks that I still knew that are there. Some maybe have come back. Some have come on as civilians. And then they recognize their all-stars and their Hall of Fame and the Lifetime Achievement Award and a Command Sergeant Major Ricky Wisher Award. So I knew most of the recipients of those awards. So that made it even more special, but honored to be back. So that was a long little elevator ride up of who I am. Hopefully I didn't go too long there.
No, I think that was perfect. You need to give, the foundation, if you will, from where we're going to be speaking from, because some of the topics that we discussed earlier that we would love to engage with can give a sense of people, give the people a sense of where you're coming from, right? Because you're working at the national level, if you will, and doing it for two presidents. So you have seen the ins and outs of how people work together, but also the stress that comes with that, because you're saying no fail, and sometimes that prevents people to move forward and actually do something because they don't know if it's going to land right or not. So I appreciate the conversation that we should have, that you brought up about resilience, because, we talk about these words, and, some of these words that we're just kind of throwing around, but I really want us to take some time to think that through and share your perspective on resilience tonight.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. We use a lot of acronyms in the military. Thank you, Victoria. I see you out there, Vicky White, who's a teammate with me at White House Com, and shout out to Victoria. So we use a lot of acronyms in the military, and so when I was asked to speak about resilience back at my old unit, as I mentioned, Colonel Childs, the commander, he's a mentee of mine. We've stayed in touch. In fact, he worked at White House Com when I was there as a captain and a major, then advanced on to lieutenant colonel and colonel, and now he's back as commander. But he invited me to come back and talk about resilience. So I chose to use the acrostic method, or an acronym for resilience, to talk to the unit about resilience. So I'm going to go through this, fairly quick here, but I think it's important.
Yeah.
So the R is for relationships, and relationships are really the foundation of things when you're talking about resilience. And we don't just walk side by side. We live the mission together. This is at White House Com, but this could be anywhere that you're assigned. And so, if somebody does feel isolated, they need to have somebody that they can go to. They need to have that relationship. And I talked about this on episode 1 about nurturing a relationship, but did not go into detail about resilience. And so you have to nurture that relationship. Next is the E, the first E, and that's where we have to engage, and you have to engage with empathy and presence. You mentioned presence in a different connotation earlier, but it applies here. You have to be present as a leader, and empathy means showing up fully. Being there. When somebody's talking to you, you put down the phone. You turn your chair around, you look at them, and you pay attention to what they're saying. Yeah. Leaders who show empathy, they create a culture where people are going to feel comfortable and willing to come to them. The next letter is S, support. I say you have to support your teammates without judgment. Okay, that's important. Not just support, but don't judge anybody for whatever issue or whatever they may have going on in their life. You have to be there to support. When they open up, they're vulnerable, and they might fear that they're going to be judged. And as a leader, say stuff like, "I'm glad you came to me. I'm glad you told me," and you don't have to go through this alone. So your support doesn't mean that you fix everything. It means that you stand with them and be there. Then the I, intervene, but intervene early. Don't wait for signs of a collapse. Intervene early and be there. And by that, you got to pay attention. You got to know your people. You got to know what's going on. You got to know, the chain of command, and have those sensing sessions so that you can know when to intervene. Small interventions prevent a big crisis. Let's say that again. Small interventions prevent big crisis. So be ready to intervene. Okay. L, listen. Listen more than you speak. I mean, it's a cliche, right? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen to your folks. Hear what they have to say, so that really, sometimes the best thing you can do as a leader is zip it up, shut your mouth, and listen. Listen to what's going on. Listen to what's on their mind. You don't necessarily have to reply all the time, but you need to understand. Okay. The next I, invest. Invest in others. Your time is really the most valuable gift that you can give. And, 5 minutes of genuine attention can mean a whole lot. It can make the difference for somebody. And so you need to invest in others. If you're in a high demand mission, people can feel like that they're cogs in a machine. Your investment says that you're not just it's not just a billet and not just duty. You are a person as well. So invest in those. E, empower. Empower others. Seek help and grow. So you've got to, in order for somebody to want to come to you or want to seek help, you've got to empower them. You've got to create that culture in your actions, in what you do. You have to empower. And seeking is not a weakness. Say that again. Seeking is not a weakness. Now, you'll hear me say this probably later on today. When a teacher foot stomps something, yes. I don't know if you can hear that, but I just stomped my foot. Okay, seeking is not a weakness. It's courage. And we need to empower each other to be able to tell our stories. N, normalize mental health conversations.
Yes.
Okay, if we only talk about mental health after something happens or after a suicide, heaven forbid, we're too late. You got to talk about it all the time and have those conversations. Normalize that as part of everyday life, and do regular check-ins with your folks. I would, I commanded 3 times. I ask folks to check in with me. Okay, I might have blinders on myself, and if I'm doing something out of the ordinary, I want somebody to engage me and check with me. I may need to have a conversation myself about it, and so we have to normalize that, that discussion. Okay, connect. The next letter C. Connect people to resources. You've got to know where these resources are. You have to be able to have these conversations and engage these resources, and perhaps maybe even before something happens, have those resources come by and be a part of your commander's call or a part of an outing. But you have to connect people to resources to be able to give them help. Now, I want to also talk about my time at White House Comm, where through the help of Dr. Coleman, who was the physician, the president's physician, and Major James Jones at the time, and James Jones is a colonel now, we were able to bring a clinic to our spaces at White House Comm. Now, when you bring healthcare to people, they're going to seek it, they're going to use it. And that was probably, I would consider, of all the things that I was responsible for and did in 4.5 years at White House Comm, bringing that clinic to the White House Communications Agency is what Mike Black considers his biggest accomplishment. And today that clinic is still there for folks, and they bring in specialty folks throughout the week and bring the healthcare to people, people with resources. Okay, finally, E. Another E, endure and endure together. Resilience is not an individual sport. It's a team sport. We need to endure together. The bond that, for example, that I had at Wonka is rare. You talk about, I don't know if you can see this badge right here, this miniature presidential service badge.
Yeah, I've seen it in person, actually.
Yeah. So, you get this after a year of faithful service at the White House Communications Agency. So
Ah.
anybody that has this has earned it and has had a year of successful and faithful service. And so you have that bond with that with the folks. As an aside, I wear this almost every time I have on a blazer or a suit. This I call this badge the miniature presidential service badge, the master key. This opens up every single door that I don't have a key for, and I mean it will. I won't even ask to have the door open. People will open the door. I mean that's a figure of speech. People will open the door when they see this because they understand. If they don't know what it is, it's that distinguished looking. A lot of people do know, and they know that you somehow served in the executive office of the president. But I was giving this talk to folks at White House Comm. So really, in closing on resilience, everyone has the power to make a difference. Remember those, that acronym. And relationships are the foundation. This is the foundation of this resilience.
What
kind of questions?
I got a lot of comments and questions here before we start going to the next. First of all, okay, thank you so much for sharing because that's a lot for us to start to think more through. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it because we just need to. So we've got
Lionel Scatliff. Okay.
Yeah,
he was a sergeant major and an acting command sergeant major at White House Comm.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. You got your handle there.
Yep.
The mic.
Well, I have to. I'm gonna call him out. I sent him this. He is a faithful supporter in all this, but he said, "Hey, this is on at the same time as 60 Minutes." I said, CBS or check the mic. So he put check the mic.
He got 60 Minutes in the background.
Right,
so
right.
He's watching both.
That is one of my main supporters, and he's always there for me, and I appreciate him. He was at the ceremony on Friday, and is just an amazing individual.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for supporting and being here on this show. We appreciate you. And so Chevy's got a comment here about, what you were speaking through. And she said, so true. Today, I listened to an interview with Cent Marshall, the first Black woman CEO of the Dallas Mavericks. And she mentioned that she uses the 3 L's when it comes to the people she serves and works with. And that is listen, learn, and love them.
Amen.
So when you were talking about listening, I think, this world is so fast to respond. Okay. Right. Respond to any old little thing. And so people already have it in their mind of what they want to say halfway through a conversation, and they're not even taking in information. They're just, they're registering to, here's my comeback. Right. And so you miss information. I know when I started out, really looking at how to refine my leadership skills, that was one of the skills that I had to develop, is to do a lot more listening and less talking. And then Yolanda Rayford, and I'm sure you know her from the Blue Star Families.
Yes.
She has her acronym, which is WAIT, and which is why am I talking?
Right.
Right. And me too. I was like, that's just to take a pause and to think about, like, why you have to take up space with your words when you're supposed to be listening and taking in, because those clues are important. Leslie here, she says, good evening. Hey, madam, how you doing? Thank you so much for being with us live tonight on the Facebook side, holding it down. And I see Kim Mallard. I see her on the Facebook side. So thank you so much for joining us live tonight, y'all. So I do want to, first, resilience, like you said, it becomes like this, buzzword, and people don't take it in as they should. And I know that, both of us have had to experience, loss of our service member from, their battles, okay, their own hand, if you will. And what you shared is a framework for leaders to stop and think about if they are doing any all of these things in their units or in their squadrons or the wing, wherever level of leadership that they're at. And I know for myself, I didn't seek mental therapy or mental help until the last maybe I was like 3 years out.
Wow.
And I worked in the medical field
Wow.
for most of my career. I was always that one that says, I'm good. Okay. Like I'm strong. I can handle this. I'll just, either suffer or, vent elsewhere when I get home. But I didn't realize the compound effect that it was having until I sat down and I was able to release and just let, my therapist at the time know, like, I've had some serious trauma.
Right.
And it has affected my ability to lead at the highest level that I am asked to lead at.
Yeah,
So,
I applaud you for for doing that when you did. I think it takes courage,
mhm,
to do that, and sometimes people may feel that there's a stigma
mhm,
associated with
absolutely.
seeking help and that kind of stuff. I think we've gotten a lot better in all of the services in that and not associating a negative stigma or a stigma with somebody that is seeking seeking help and that kind of thing. You made me think about one thing. We talked about this before, but I just want to hit this one more time. We talked about mental health and mental fitness. That fitness is one of my 5 F's in my command philosophy, and not just physical fitness, because we have to pass our tests and that kind of stuff in the military, but what do you do to nurture your spiritual and mental fitness?
Mhm,
And I think that's important, because if
it
your
is.
fitness is out of balance, you're certainly not going to be doing yourself any good, and you're not going to do your unit any good if that is out of balance. And that goes back to what I was saying about me and maybe having blinders on. That's why I use the people around me
Mhm,
as sensors, if you will, to hey, if you see something abnormal about me and my behavior, tell me.
yeah,
If it looks like I'm focused on something and not paying attention, there may be something going on.
yeah.
So don't be scared. To to tell the commander, tell your
Yeah,
boss that um, I see that you're acting different, and I just want to know, are you okay? Are you okay?
yep, yeah. And when you create that environment, and the word was used last night at the event, was the psychological safety or psychological space that you as a commander have created for the unit to call you out, pull up to you to say, hey, we've noticed you're acting a little bit differently. What's going on? Or is there anything that we can help with you? Because we're, as leaders, sometimes people think that we are um, infallible and that we don't have feelings or we don't go through our own challenges. And so, they chalk it up as, well, that's just what, they have to deal with.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but it is the fitness part of it. When you mentioned the spiritual and the mental, and we talked earlier before the show, how we both went to church today. Right.
Yes.
Not everyone, will have this as their component of their spiritual mental fitness. They have to find out what's works best for them. And I know for me, being in a sanctuary with other people who are looking for, their cup to be poured, because we pour into a lot of people on a regular basis outside of the uniform. We've had continued service.
Right.
And so you need to have something in order for you to find that there's something bigger than yourself, right? And so that's what, I know that's what I constantly go back. I want to be fed. I want to learn more about how to be more Christian like, or how to be of service. So, but that's different for everyone. But everyone needs to have a sense of what that looks like for themselves.
Yeah, I appreciated you sending me that note this morning. It wasn't a coincidence that we both were at church, and when you sent me the note and said, "Hey, I got this, and I'll send you something after I get out of church," I went to 8 o'clock service at Alfred Street today. And just a shout out to Pastor Howard John Wesley, who is amazing. I learned so much from him because he really knows how to teach. And it's just it's amazing how he can tell a story about the Bible and the lesson that he wants to, but his story resonates, and it's a way to remember and to learn. And so I try to take that style that he has to when I'm trying to teach, and he is so amazing. I learn so much from him every time I hear him talk, and I imagine you're doing this. You get the same there from your pastor at Glen Arden Baptist.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like, when we have been called upon, we have been assigned. This is a calling that we do. When we're continually going back to our communities, going back to our military communities, going back to our local communities of service, that we find ways to help others, to let them see what we are, doing. Because I know that we cannot do things, like you said, on our own. It doesn't matter. Like people say, oh, I don't like being around people, or, I just don't want to go there because there's going to be a lot of people, well, that's how this world is. It's just, and so when you talk about relationships, you talk about connections, these are components that are absolutely needed. They're required. And now more than ever,
Right. Absolutely.
So resilience is, again, if you haven't taken down your notes, we want to make sure that you have, these at hand. So let's just run through it one more time, Mike, just to make sure.
Sure. So let me pull it up on my iPad so I get everything correctly here. So resilience is an acronym, or using the acrostic method. So we start with R, okay, and that's the foundation, relationships, okay. So that's the first letter. Then E, engage with empathy and presence. Then S, support your teammates without judgment. I, intervene, not only intervene, but intervene early. L, listen more than you speak. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen. I, invest in others, invest in your teammates, invest in your people. Empower. E, empower others to seek help and grow. Seeking is not a weakness, it's courage. N, normalize mental health conversations. Okay, if we only talk about it when there's a problem, we're too late. Normalize those conversations, like you did at that point in your career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Connect people with resources. We have all kinds of resources out there. And let me just give a plug out for one resource. I think we both know this gentleman, Miguel Sierra, that works a program out there at Fort Meade. I actually talked to him before I put my talk together and shared my acronym and acrostic with him and got his professional advice, because this is what he does for a living. And so I was really appreciative of that. So connect people with resources. Endure together. You are not alone. It's not a cliche. You are not alone. Okay, endure together. And so that's it. Resilience. That acronym. I'll be happy to share that with anybody that if you didn't get it or wants to know some more specifics or hear about that presentation, connect with me any way you can.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing it here on the show, because we definitely benefited from that tonight. So y'all make sure that you pass that along too. And if you know anyone who is in, executive leadership or, management, they're managing and leading lots of people. Okay. Especially those are the ones that actually really need this, because times are very uncertain right now. And, the more that we disconnect from, each other, the more of these types of things are happening for ourselves, where people are feeling isolated and they're not feeling supported. So I also do know that you are a very highly driven man. Okay. I have seen you like here, there, and everywhere. Y'all, his tagline is current situation. If you have seen his LinkedIn post or his Facebook post, that is the first thing that he starts out with. All right. Current situation. It's like the White House. All right. And I'm just like, I stop what I'm doing. Like I'm scrolling. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Like, let me see. And you show your full life, right? You show from when you're doing presentations, when you're at your job, at certain events, as well as your family. And I think that is so important when you can give someone a full picture of who you are. Because it gives everybody a taste, all right? A taste. A sample, if you will.
Yes.
So one of the things that we talked about on our last show was these degrees. Okay. And I think you were at like 13, like for your whole entire family, like how many degrees, between, I don't know how many people.
There's 5 if you count my
5.
wife and my 3 kids and myself. So the immediate family, 5 of us.
Yes. And now you have how many degrees?
So we have 15 degrees that have been awarded to the Michael and Wilda Black family. My wife Wilda just got her PhD in nursing education at the end of the year. So we're very, very happy for her and that a number of years of dedication to put that together. She's a nurse educator, has been teaching nursing now, and so now she is Dr. Wilda Black.
Hello, doctor.
Dr.
Okay.
Wilda. And then,
so are you calling her doctor?
Well, I do sometime, but
You said, well,
I don't know.
Well,
I refer to her as doctor to almost everybody else.
Right. Well, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because that's a must.
But yes, no, she is credentialed and worked very hard on that, and is now well, she already was a nurse educator, but now has the DR stamp for all of that, and that's a lot of hard work and dedication that went into that. And then my youngest, Hannah, got her master's in nutrition, and so those are the 2 that were added to the 13. My oldest daughter, Jordan, has a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degree. My son, Clinton, has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And then I have a bachelor and 3 masters. My wife has 2 masters. So I think public math, that should go to 15, but we have 15 degrees, in the family. And education is important from both sides of our family, my side and Wilda's side. The family where, she set the example, for her family in that and the continuing education. And then my parents both have degrees. Mom from Alabama A&M, who is still living, will be 86 in August. And my dad, who passed away a few years ago, but he went to Tuskegee Institute, as it was called then. And so I had that, example, from my parents. And I have 2 sisters that both graduated from Howard University. So it wasn't a question of whether or not we were going to school or going to college. It was, where are we going? And that kind of thing. And I will foot stomp again. I said this before, but my grandparents on my dad's side, they visited Tuskegee Institute at the time and saw the statue of lifting the veil of ignorance. And that's where they decided that they would like their kids to go. And so 6 members of the Black Billy and Owita Black, and I believe your grandmother's name is Owita as well.
It is. It was, yeah. Owita.
Yes. Owita, Billy and Owita Black. So 6 of them went to Tuskegee, and a couple got PhDs there. A nurse, a senior postal person, a colonel in the Army, and a teacher. And so you had all of that around as well. And stuff like that is contagious, right? I mean, it just if you see people doing excellence and that kind of stuff, you know, you want to emulate that as well. And just another shout out for Mom who did all of my work for me to get to the Air Force.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling us.
We filled out all the paperwork for that, and so Mom got the appointment. I just went in her stead.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's good that you say that. All right, because she's probably like, I did all this work, this pre-work, but you know what? It says a lot about your family. It really, really does, because you know, in times where we always think about, okay, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options for you, you know, for your future.
Right.
But I know probably your family is the history, right? It's the legacy. It's the, you know, what we were not afforded to do at one time. All right. And now it's, you take advantage of all of the ways that you could grow, expand, you know, your learning, even, you know, your status. All right. Because you know, our husband, you know, not my husband. I said my husband. Okay. My husband is a doctor as well, and he got his doctor's degree. And so he knew the importance of studying, and he wanted to change the trajectory of the family line.
Right.
You know, so now you have I have a master's degree, he's got his doctor's degree, and that is the example, right? He's showing, and we have just the one son, and you know, showing him, hey, but it's bigger than that, because even though your immediate family is having the degrees, it's all the others that are attached to the family of understanding it's possible.
No, absolutely. I mean, it definitely is, and we preach that, you know, to our family, to our nieces and nephews, and you know, that kind of thing. As I may have mentioned earlier, I think before we came on air, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they have two children that are both. One graduated from Howard last year, and one is going to graduate this year. But they're right here in the area. Their parents live in Arkansas, and so we've, you know, they're part of the squad, as we call it, as we call our affectionately call our group, and you know, we just promote that. There's a lot that you can do with that education, that learning. You know, the tools that you can put in your toolbox, and I've talked about this before. You know, today, you know, the toolbox is you know, is really something like this phone. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can put on the phone today, and so you don't have to have all of these papers and folders and that kind of stuff. And so I just try to gather knowledge all the time. I'm constantly taking notes. You know, writing on my notes when I hear something, when I hear people speak, just to put that in my, you know, in my repertoire. I wrote down weight again. I want to, you know, why am I talking? I like that. That's something that I'm going to, you know, to add, and I'll attribute it to, what was that?
Is Yolanda Rayford.
Yeah, Yolanda Rayford. I will attribute that to Yolanda. I'll get some information about her when we get done, but I really like that. But getting back to the, you know, to the education and the knowledge, it just, you know, you're better equipped when you have all of this that you've learned, and you can tackle different issues and different problems. So I'm always in the learn mode, always willing to learn. Which if I could transition to having your head on a swivel.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes. So it's, I wish I could say that I invented that. I didn't, but it's something that I subscribe to, of having your head on a swivel. And by that, I mean, you know, always, you know, looking around your surroundings so that you can see what's going on, so you can pick up this information, this knowledge. And for me, goes back to what we talked about a few minutes ago about church. I don't want to miss my blessing. And so my head is on a swivel. So I try to pay attention to see what's going on, to gather in that information. There are times where, you know, my head is not completely on a swivel and I'll miss something. but the good Lord will present that to me again at another time. And
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for that. But that's why I have my head on a swivel. And so if you're with me and you see me always looking around, I mean, that is so I don't miss my blessing. I try to see everything that's going on. I mean, and some good things happen, when you have your head on a swivel. I had my head on a swivel in Orlando couple Novembers ago, and Magic Johnson walked in the building because I had my head on a swivel, and
Yeah, there you go.
because
Yeah.
I was looking at him when he was having his meal. We actually got a chance to talk to him afterwards. He came over and talked to our family. Those are the kind of things that happen when your head's on a swivel. This past week, at a conference I was at, we were staying at a hotel in Pentagon City, and I got to meet 5 living Medal of Honor recipients. They were at the hotel. And you talk about just like, invigorating. First of all, to know what these folks have gone through to receive that. I mean, if you look at what's required to receive that, but to meet 5 living. I met the youngest living one, Kyle Carpenter, 36 years old. Happened to get on the elevator the same time I did. And because my head was on a swivel, I was drawn to the Medal of Honor that he had around his neck. I had a conversation with him the night before, 2 nights before. There were 4 of them at the same restaurant that we were at. And I saw a medal on one of them. And then through conversation, I gathered that the others were that were with them were Medal of Honor recipients. There were 4. And of that 4, there was a gentleman that was 100 years old that received most recently received the Medal of Honor at the last State of the Union.
Yeah, I saw that.
Royce Williams. He was on a classified mission that finally got declassified, and he received that. But those are the kind of things that happen when your head's on a swivel. You don't miss those things, and that experience. I can't tell you what that did for me and that experience. I had met a couple of Medal of Honor recipients in the past, but I think I'm up to 10 Medal of Honor recipients that I have personally met. And capture that information and put it on my phone. There's 80,000 pictures on here. That's why you see all those.
Listen, that is me.
All those current situations. But having your head on a swivel will make sure that you that you gather information and that you can continue to learn.
Yeah. And I appreciate that too, because the older we get, there's a tendency to not want to learn, to think that we know all the things, to not keep up, because there's a lot of people who are seriously. I have had conversations with people like, I don't know how to book my plane tickets. I don't know how to pull up a Google document. It's like these simple, what we call or view as simple everyday tools. For others, they struggle because they're like, oh, I don't need to learn that. I don't need to know that, and now everything's going to digital, which this is now going to go into the other conversation that we wanted to have, which is about AI. Okay. So like I use AI every day. Okay.
Amen.
However.com, all things are not always good, especially when they're starting out. So let's just have a rich conversation about AI, since this is your world. Okay. So
no, I work at the Armed Forces Communication and Electronics Association, or AFCEA, and we do a lot of stuff with information technology, cyber, artificial intelligence, machine learning, zero trust, all that kind of stuff. Well, it's not an AFCEA conference if there's not a topic on AI or artificial intelligence. I mean, that is, we have side bars on that, other sessions, breakout sessions on AI. And so I too use AI on a regular basis, and I'm a trust but verify kind of person. And that goes back to what you were saying. Well, all that information is not necessarily good. And so the way that I use AI, though, I think is a little different than maybe the average person uses it. For me, I am specific about my parameters, my input that I provide AI. If I'm looking for them to help me with something, I get very specific and I give it guardrails, if you will, or boundaries. This is, I want you to, to go between this and that. I want you to consider this. I also want you to add this. I don't want you to say this. Do not put this in there because that's not where I'm going with that. And so I'm very specific. And the other thing that I do with AI is I get multiple iterations. Okay? And I think that's important. So I don't take the first thing that I get from AI and say, okay, this is what I'm going to go present.
Right.
I do multiple iterations of that. I recently did a test, and people probably thought I was just having fun. I was having fun, but
it's like you can have fun too. Okay.
Yeah. So I asked AI to make a caricature of me, and basically I wanted that caricature to be kind of a snapshot of who Mike Black is. So I went to the AI and I said, hey, this is Mike Black, 40 years of experience, went to the Air Force Academy, colonel, retired colonel in the Air Force, worked at White House Communications Agency, does Christ Moves Now yoga in the morning, loves the San Antonio Spurs, loves the Air Force Academy, loves the Washington Commanders, all of these kind of things that I said that I wanted it to produce in this caricature of me.
Yeah.
And so I put all that in and it spit something out. And of course, I'm not happy with the first thing that it did. It was not what I was, I gave it a couple pictures of myself and, all of that kind of thing. So no kidding, probably after about, the first thing I did is I upgraded my subscription to the AI so that I could provide more information and can interact with it on a, not a limited number of inputs. But then when I did that, I would say probably no kidding, probably about 15, maybe even 20 inputs that iterations before I was somewhat satisfied with the output to where I would put it in my current situation.
Right.
Okay. So and again, I was having fun with that because there was a lot of people doing caricatures and I was like, oh man, those are cool. Those look good. Yeah. But I also said, I'm going to use this as a test for AI and to see if I can get a product from AI based upon these parameters and multiple inputs. And so that is how I would use AI in life. If I'm looking for AI to help me put together something, I give it multiple iterations. I'm pretty strict on the boundaries. And then, I tell it if it spits out something that I don't want or I'm not going to use, I tell it, do not include this in future, iterations of this. This is not what I'm looking for. Now, the AI tool that I use, it now knows me because I do it, on a regular basis. And so it'll say, hey, do you want me to spit this out as if you are Colonel retired Michael Black, former commander of the White House Communications Agency, current vice president of defense at AFCEA International, and, all of this kind of stuff. So it knows me, it learns, and all of that. And so that's how I use AI. So the big thing about AI for me is that AI helps me, it helps me be a lot more efficient in things. I'm all for giving me the 85-90% solution quickly so that I can sit down and work and refine this, maybe even just take parts of it and still use my own input, the human input to come to a final decision on the product or the information. That is how I use AI. And all of that I validated, if you will, in my use with a test of, okay, let me have this tool present this caricature. The final product was pretty good. It had me, it showed John A. Andrew Hospital, historic teaching hospital at Tuskegee on one side of it. It had the White House on the other side. It had a colonel flag. It had the Air Force Academy. It had me kneeling down doing yoga. That's something I do every morning for about the last 5+ years.
Mm-hmm.
Now it had emblems for the Air Force Academy, the Washington Commanders, San Antonio Spurs. It had check the mic on there. All of those things were on there. And so I could present that, I could give that to somebody and say, this is who I am,
Mm-hmm.
just, and use that even as a talking point. I could put that up if somebody says, who is Mike Black?
That's right.
I could put that up and I could talk through everything that's on there, and that'll give you a brief history of who I am. You can do that same kind of thing with whatever you're looking for, whatever you're tasked for, and use that. And it saved me tons of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I use AI. So very long answer to your question. I'm a fan of AI. But this is how Mike Black uses it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that because, AI could be a scary monster for a lot of people. And some people just don't know the prompts to put in and how to, rewrite or, kind of give them those limitations so that they can get to the truest form of answer that they're looking for or product that you're looking for. I know in my daily use, I use it for narrative power. Like that is what I share with the clients that I use that come to me because, part of the visibility strategy is, if I could stop at your post and read your post and know exactly what you're trying to do. And it, I know for the tools that the AI tools that I use, that's what I try to achieve. And it works.
Right.
It works. But when people spend hours and hours are trying to figure out what to say, right? When we have presentations, when we have, just even for me, responding to emails, responding to inquiries.
Right.
I want to be as professional as I can, but also to make sure that I'm addressing what they are asking me to address. And it takes several iterations. I never go with the first one because I'm like, that's not it. I need a little bit more here or maybe less here.
Right. And probably what I'll do is I probably will follow up with you because you have, you've mastered that from the narrative aspect of things. And I would like to learn, from that and add that, to my toolbox and my repertoire of things. And I appreciate what you do because you have an excellent product in, what you present.
Thank you. I try my best to stay within the brand, right? So the brand does not take legs and run off and form into something else that I don't want it to be. All right. So but I think that's for any of us that are using any of the social media platforms is, we all have a personal brand and your brand, speaks. There's so many things that if someone to describe me without me knowing you, the first time that I meet you, it would be on point, right? And that is what people are trying to achieve nowadays because there's a lot of people who are copying and pasting. And they think that is the way because a lot of people are using it and they're finding their success. But I know for us that are wanting to make meaningful impact in this world, it has to be human connected. So we don't allow AI just to take over. All right. It's a tool that we can use to refine.
You said something about brand again, and I know we've talked about that, but I want to foot stomp for you in your brand and really what I get from your brand, and I love the story of how Slay came about. I remember you. I've heard you discuss that more than one time, and I've read that. But every time I see the word Slay or hear the word Slay now, the first thing I think of is the Slay Queen, is Rochelle, and I mean really, to kill, to dominate, to nail it, to impress greatly, be on point, and dream and work hard until you own it. I mean, that is the brand. of the Slay Queen and Slay to Success. And I think your brand, you work very hard on developing your brand, because your brand defines you and all of that. And I love what I see in the Slay brand. The other thing I wanted to do is go. Oh, you're welcome. Go back to our discussion last night, or my presence last night with you and Yolanda and Charmaine. I really want to just give a shout out for you three ladies who put that program together. And I did, in my head, I'm thinking, you guys are all retired E9s, two chief master sergeants and one command sergeant major. And so 9 times 3 is 27. So that's E27 that you have in that room of knowledge. And I will tell you, I mean, I was sitting at the high stool behind the cash register, and I was taking all that in from what you guys were teaching that group and empowering the women. And then if you add Donnell in there, he's a retired command sergeant major, E9, that's E36. And so the power of your careers and the enlisted leaders, then what you bring to the table is so important. And it's a big part of who I am and what has shaped me in my relationship with the senior enlisted folks that were a part of my team. I still regularly meet with my battle buddy, Gerald Williams, Command Sergeant Major Gerald Williams, who was the Command Sergeant Major at the White House Communications Agency when I was there. I also talked to Willie Clemens, who replaced him, who was also my Command Sergeant Major. You heard me mention Scatliff, on here. He was an E9 Sergeant Major. And let me not forget my superintendent, who's passed away a number of years ago, but Mick Johnson and his wife, Toya. Those folks, bring so much to the table, and I learned so much. And I just want to really give you guys a shout out for what you do, what you bring, and how much you've taught people like me, and just with your experience. So much love and shout out to you three for what you did on Saturday night.
Thank you. We are still pinching ourselves a little bit about what we were able to do for others, and then come to find out there was many women who have led at higher levels of leadership that were in the room, and some of them didn't have a military background, so these are community leaders, teachers, some were former athletes. So you would never know, and that's the beauty of having events like that. You never know who's in the room until you sit down and you actually talk to them, and you see and understand what their background is and their connection to one another. So to be a part of an experience like that is always something that is a priority for me. Always a priority, because it defines you as you. Like, what are you into, right? And I know for me, this is the legacy work that I'm building right now. I want people to know and remember how I showed up for other women, and regardless of who they were, because sometimes, and all right, sometimes women don't work well with others. This is just something that just is still a phenomenon that I just can't understand. But when you can recognize another powerful woman in the same space and not feel some sort of a way about it, then that's where the real work starts to happen.
No, absolutely. Right. And, and I go back to, I'm a math and science guy. And so they have this thing called the synergistic effect. And so when you bring, 2-3 talented people together, and they start working together like a well-oiled machine. I mean, a cliche, but that E9 plus E9 plus E9, and speaking of the 3 women, it's really a lot greater than 27. Yeah. Because of what you bring to the table. And the same kind of thing happens when you work together with your team. and people work together and work for the greater good of the organization or the whatever the task is, you get that synergistic effect, and things just work a lot better. The product, the solution, the output is going to be 10 times better than what it would have been if you worked on it alone. And
Yeah.
so you can see that gelling and that the synergistic effect, specifically with what you guys had.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you were there. We were, we're always looking for the supportive men that are in the rooms,
No, I was honored to be there. I reached out to Donnell and said, hey, do they need any help and doing things? And he told me, yeah, come on by. And so I was able to do that. And again, it was a blessing for me because I learned a lot. Just even serving the food, I was able to engage each person that came in and find out things and then follow up with folks. And so it's just a powerful event.
Yeah. Well, we've had a full conversation tonight, as always. I mean, like the first one was the same way. I was not expecting anything different for the second one because, when you have, so much wisdom and the value that you bring on a regular basis to so many, I knew that we were going to be here for, over an hour. But I do want a chance for you to close out with something that you want to add to our conversation. And then, of course, I've got the last question. It's going to be different this time because, last time, I asked you about legacy work, but I have a different question. So first, like share whatever it is that you think that you definitely need to, again, foot stomp or give more.
Yeah, I think I'll hit a couple of things here. So I definitely talked about the head on the swivel, and that's something that I believe and subscribe to. And so always have your head on a swivel so that you can receive your blessings, so that you can pay attention to what's going on. But with that, we have a saying at the White House Communications Agency. It's called "Ready to Receive."
Mm-hmm.
And so when we are ready to receive, we have checked all of our equipment, and we are, make the call back into the command post or to headquarters and make the call that you're ready to receive. And that means that you've tested everything and you are ready to receive the president of the United States or the vice president or the first president, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes that call is made, a day in advance because you got everything and everything is working. Sometimes it's minutes. Because of the gremlins or just the challenges of
the gremlins are always working.
But I use that term "ready to receive," kind of a double entendre. Yes, you've got to check everything and make sure that things are operating so that when the president comes up there and comes to the microphone, he doesn't say that, hey, is this thing on, or test that kind of thing. That's not a good
no, it's not
a good feeling. Also, you want to make sure that it's off when it's supposed to be off, and
right
thing. And so you have to be ready to receive. But in life, in business, in work, you also have to be ready to receive. Be ready to receive your blessing, ready to receive your knowledge. You've got to be open and be receptive to information. If you kind of got closed and you go with your blinders on, and I'm just going to go do this, and this is all I see, you're going to miss that information, and you're not ready to receive. And so I think it's important to be ready to receive. And I use, again, that analogy. I got that from my time at the White House Communications Agency. It was developed well before I was there, but it is something that I subscribe to today. I try to make sure that I am ready to receive.
Yeah. Well, it's a skill. It's a skill, and sometimes we don't really see ourselves in a place. So our minds are wandering somewhere else, and we're just not focused. And it happens to everybody. But having that phrase, if you will, ready to receive. Now I'm going to remember that because I'm going to be acting like I'm the president. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
I would put myself in the position of being the president, be like, I'm ready. Like, is everything ready up in here?
Right.
you know?
Right.
But I think we got to check ourselves
Yeah,
on a
absolutely.
regular basis. So, last time I asked you again the legacy question, but I know that you're working on a book. And I
Yeah.
know you spoke about this on the last show.
Right.
So, where are we at? Okay, what
Right.
what stage are we at with the book, and what are you looking to do or to uh I don't know what is the reason
Right.
and the results, if you will, of the book? Like, what do you want that to be?
Yeah. So great question, and I appreciate you asking that, and that definitely keeps me honest about what I am said I was going to do, and that kind of thing. So in library terms, the book is still overdue. Uh, it
Okay, I'll take that.
it should have been done already. What I did commit to myself this year is to really hopefully make significant progress, if not finish the book. And so I'm focused on that. What I did use is last a little over a year ago, we I put together this. I wrote a chapter in this book. I don't know if you can
Oh
see.
yeah, base go boom.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so you got the yellow one. I'm in
Yes.
the black one.
Yeah. So we both have written chapters in this book, and Dr. Xavier Bruce, put together. I'm in chapter 4 of this book, and I use this book, and basically the way that X was asking us to contribute. I use this as an impetus for me to do some
Mm.
sort of outline and a portion of chapters or chapters that I'm going to do in my book. And so I've got quite a bit already written based upon what I prepared for this and what I ultimately used for this. And so I'm thankful that Dr. Xavier Bruce gave me the opportunity to be a part of that. And again, that's in volume 2. What do I intend to do with that? Well, I have talked a little bit about this before. Content. A young troop, told me, the messages that you put out has good content, and so I want my book to have good content. I want it to be a tool for people, not just to document, a life story, if you will. Although things that have happened in my life are good teaching moments and good tools. But putting that together and documenting that, shortening the learning curve for those that follow, but also capturing information. I feel, again, 40 years in the workforce, 30 years in the Air Force. That 30 years in the Air Force was a leadership laboratory. I
Oh
was
yeah.
in the laboratory for 30 years, getting exposed to all kinds of leadership opportunities. And it's what you do with those opportunities that
Mhm.
define you. And when you build upon those based upon your coaches, your mentors, and your sponsors, and the experiences that you have, and then you can capture that and share that with the next generation of folks. I mean, there's nothing that gives me, as a former commander, more satisfaction than to see the folks that follow me, both
Yeah.
officer and enlisted, excelling and
Yes.
doing things faster
Yeah.
and better than I did, because I was able to give them some guidance and some experience. And so that's what I hope for my book. I'm a big fan of books. I mean, I've read your book,
Yeah.
at least one of your books. And I have a bunch here in the background here. I have not read every single book that's up there, but there are parts of every book up there that I have read and have used. And while I'm talking about books, I just want to give a quick shout out to a couple of books that I've read recently or have reading. Blind Attraction to Certainty, written by a classmate of mine, Chris Moreland. Great book. Doing Business by the Good Book, written by Miss Dave Stewart, CEO for Worldwide Technology, the most successful 8A company in the history of the 8A program.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you were at Ellsworth at the same time. Renita Alexander was an MSG commander, but she wrote this book on Just Breathe, One Breath at a Time.
I think I actually have her book.
Yeah, it's a great book. It talks
Yeah.
about different breathing techniques and kind of a 4-count breathing exercise, and breathe in positive thoughts and breathe out negative. I use that in the yoga class that I'm in, and that works good. And then finally, the last book that I'll just give a plug to is A Soldier's Life,
Mm.
about the 688 postal
Yeah.
company and all the things they did. And Edna Cummings, retired colonel from United States Army, wrote that, and was the impetus for them receiving the Congressional Gold Medal.
Yeah.
And so books are good teaching tools and teaching moments, and so that's what I want to do with my book. I want my book to be a tool, for somebody, just like these books are tools for me.
That's awesome. Well, I am most positive that you will finish this book, and I'll be the first one to buy the book and to read the book and to share with everyone what I have learned, because it's important. I feel like everybody's got a book in them.
Absolutely.
Leslie George is here, and she helps women to publish their books on a regular basis, because when we're gone, long gone, there is something about having an evergreen product that people can go back to and learn from and pass on to the next generation, and the people that you're supposed to be writing it to would benefit from it, because not every book is for everybody. So so I absolutely love that you're taking that path as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing this book in the future.
Thank you. I mean, this is, hey, I'm paying attention. My head's on a swivel. This is that was last night. You asking me to be on the show was another kick that I needed to get busy on this book, and I'm paying attention. I mean, that was the good Lord talking to me, and he knew this was going to come up today, and so I got that song. I got work to do.
Yeah. Hey, they get to work, right? Because and I always feel like these thoughts or these ideas just don't come out of nowhere.
Right.
They're planted for a reason, and so we have to see it through. Regardless of what we may think about it or what others may think about it, there's a reason. All right. So love that you were here as a guest for the second time. Okay. So part 2, y'all. Okay, 2.0, if you will. If you haven't seen the first one, please go back to the Slay to Success YouTube channel and view it. Okay, because there is a lot of other gems that were dropped in that episode that you want to now connect to this one. And also we're going to be back here. Okay. Not next Sunday, because guess what next Sunday is, y'all? It's Easter. Okay. So we will not be back here on next Sunday, but we'll be the following Sunday. So I'll make sure to post that out so everybody can see that. But until then, okay. Oh, let me take a pause. I don't want to miss out on saying a shout out to those that came with us on live today. So we had Donnell, okay, Chevy, Vicky, Victoria, she's with the building as well. Lionel,
right,
and that was all on that. And Kim is viewing in as well. So thank you all for being here, a part of this conversation that we had tonight. And share. Make comments if you come back for the replay. Put in #replay, and keep on slaying until you can't slay no more.
Right.
All right.
Own it.
So we got
you own it.
And you got to own it. All right. Take control.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that everybody is, accomplishing what they said that they said that they wanted to do. And Victoria said, "Can't wait to read the book. Good luck to you in your writing journey."
Yeah, I appreciate my teammates. Being there. Victoria, Vicky was a great teammate at White House Com, and she's doing big things in her own right.
Oh,
So,
she is. I
yeah,
met her like
yeah,
a couple of years ago.
right,
And yeah, when she told me what she does on a
yeah,
regular basis, I
right.
said, this
No,
is an angel, okay?
yeah,
Because the work that she does it's intense and it's emotional. But somebody's got to do it. And
amen.
so she stepped to it and she does it flawlessly and
Yes,
effortlessly for our family. So
yes.
um, I love that for her. Yeah.
Good deal.
All right. Well, we'll see you all when we see you. All right. So take care and have an amazing week. And we'll see you soon.
All right, sounds
Bye.
good. Thank you, Slay
You're
Queen.
welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
Bye.